Hey lovelies, Amber Star here, and today I have a very special video for you. It's going to be more or less a one-shot thing, so don't expect anything else like this again. Maybe, maybe not, but don't suspect it. So what am I going on about? Well, Five Nights at Freddy's, of course. The hype is still high from the release of number 4. And I don't believe it'll be dying down anytime soon, especially since Sky is going to release more content to it in October. I can't play the game because of it costing money, and so I'm going to give my input on this as a special video for you guys. I pieced together the timeline myself in a way, so this is like a timeline slash other things, I suppose, theory. Now remember, this is my opinion and a theory. I am not stating any of this as fact. It's just what I feel is the timeline, and of course all of this is up for discussion. You please feel free to leave a comment below to add something, tell me what you think, anything. So, moving on. I've been thinking about this, and I believe the order of the games that should be played to get like the story connected all together would be 4, 2, 1, and then 3. And my main reasoning for this is, of course, the dates. And there's speculation on some of them. So, the date on 4 is 1983, which can be seen by the commercial on the TV. And then 2 is 1987, which is written on the check that you receive. 1 is 1993. It's not mentioned on the check, but people have figured it out by how much you have earned. And of course, 3 is in 2017, which is supposed to be 30 years from the second game. Now, with all of this in mind, the events of 4 lead up to everything else. The animatronics are not possessed at this point in time. They're just nightmares that are being had by our protagonist, who is terrified of the establishment for reasonings. That doesn't mean that anything supernatural isn't going on, though. If you take the protagonist's Fredbear plush, it's alive in some way. It talks to him, and it's what mentions about putting him back together once he passes on. With that being said, this leads me to believe that the supernatural being is pulling the strings. Literally. He makes the boy into the puppet at the Sister Fazbear location 4 years later. Why does he do this? That can be determined. It's up to discussion. But mainly, I feel like the supernatural being knew of the murders, and he wanted to place the protagonist in the puppet as a preventative measure, because he didn't want to see what happened to the protagonist happen again. Unfortunately, this leads up to the second game, with the protagonist already as the puppet, and the Fredbear location where he was accidentally killed is now shut down. Now they have the sister location where the puppet is, and both Spring Bonnie and Spring Fredbear were left in the back rooms with no endoskeletons. They had no plans on bringing them back. But of course, they had the old Foxy, Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie there as well, but they're there for parts because they figured, hey, these animatronics weren't active at the other location, but they were there, and they had plushes of them and stuff. They were mascots, and they figured, well, let's make these more kid-friendly so it'll bring people back to this location and not think about what happened in the sister location. In the first part of the game, none of the animatronics are possessed. Not even the withered ones from the old location. But this leads up to the purple guy. He winds up murdering the kids. And of course the kids are traumatized and they don't recognize just, you know, this is the guy who murdered me. They recognize the uniform, which is why when the animatronics do become possessed, they attack Jeremy. Their intentions are good, but they are mixed up, in other words. Now, in the beginning, the supernatural being and the puppet are working with the toy animatronics, making them come to life. Hopefully trying to prevent the murders, but they go after the wrong person. Which, again, is Jeremy and not the purple guy. But when the purple guy does murder the children, the first one was the one that was outside of the restaurant. And I don't know why he's outside the restaurant, but I have some speculation, which I will get to in a second. He puts that kid in the Fredbear suit, Golden Freddy's, because it's out of commission. Nobody would think to ever look in it. So there's the Golden Freddy. The rest of the kids are at the party at separate times, at the same time, who knows, but they're there, and he places them and Foxy, Bonnie, Freddy, and Chica. Again, kind of out of order. No one is going to look. Now, going back to why the kid was outside, I speculated that these kids are the 5 kids that you see in one of the mini games in 4, not the other bullies of our protagonists from the 4th game. I will show you the lake. You'll see there's 5 different kids, 2 girls, 3 boys. Now, why one of them was outside of the restaurant is maybe they're remembering that their friend was, you know, killed 4 years ago. And so maybe they don't want to come back to this restaurant and they're just having a nostalgia and are crying because they're like, well, maybe the same thing happened to me, or they're just upset over their friend, and the purple guy takes that as an opportunity to kill this kid for some reason. And then the rest of them are at a party and they're a little confused as why their 5th friend is missing, but you know, they ignore it, and unfortunately the same fate happens to them. Then when you come back, the puppet and the supernatural being have not stopped the murders, so they do the next best thing. They give the life to the kids and the animatronics. And as I mentioned, these animatronics, these kids, they can't tell the difference between Jeremy and the purple guy because they're wearing the same uniform, and it was trauma, so they just attack anybody in this uniform while it's not during the day, because they are kids and they do recognize other kids, and they figure, well, there's other kids around, I'm not going to do this. But at night, it's like, there's only this one guy, he must be the one who killed us. That's just their logic. That's the trauma. They're not sure what they're doing. And of course, we all know that the second game takes place in 87, and Jeremy is moved to the day shift to keep the kids away from the animatronics. And he may have been standing a little too close, and the puppet and supernatural beings saw that as a opportunity to get rid of this guy that they've been tormenting for the past few nights. But of course, that's all left up to your speculation. Now, from the second game, we go into the first game. They scrapped the kid-friendly animatronics for malfunctioning face recognition, just glitches in general. The older animatronics are fixed, and now being at another new location since the one before that has closed down again because of the murders. And it's been 6 years since this has happened. However, I don't know how. Nobody noticed this, so this is another question, but the kids' bodies were hidden inside these animatronics and nobody seemed to notice it, except for the parents at these new locations. They mentioned the rot and the decay, mucus, all these little signs, but that's the only thing. Why the employees or management didn't notice is a question to be answered, or did they just not care? Who knows? But the parents noticed. Now, in this game, the animatronics are obviously full-blown possessed. They are all the children. There's none that are just being possessed by a supernatural being or whatever. It's still kids that were murdered. Now, their Stu are feeding off of the trauma. Stu don't recognize who their murder was exactly. All they know is this purple uniform. So once again, Mike this time is who they have their sights on. They just remember purple uniform, bad guy, must attack, must get our revenge. They don't understand that this is a different guy. This is not who did this to them. Mike survives, of course, and I'm pretty sure he never wants to come back ever again. But he doesn't have to because, again, the place is shut down because of all the complaints of the smell and whatnot. And the animatronics are now left there to rot. There's no place opening ever again, and the kids have not made peace yet. So they're just left there for eternity. Or it seems that way. This now leads up to the third game, which is the last bit in the storyline. And in the mini games, we see that the purple guy gets into the restaurant and kills, quote unquote, kills the animatronics. Why he does this is, again, left up to questioning, but he's probably being haunted, like, about what he's done, and he knows that these animatronics, as long as they're still there, he will be, haunted by these kids, as long as as long as these animatronics exist. Once he does kill them, though, he feels like he's won, but then the kids appear to him. They finally found who murdered them, and the puppet and the supernatural being are leading them, saying, "This is your murderer, this is the guy." And the guy is obvious, the purple guy is obviously scared, and he gets into spring bonding, like, haha, now you can't get me. But that was his mistake. The spring bonnie suit locked up and killed him. And the kids are finally free. The murderer has gotten what he deserves, and they can move on. Including the puppet. He served his purpose, and he can move on with his friends. And that's why there's the animatronics in the third game are just phantoms. None of them are real except for Springtrap. There are hallucinations from the guard there because he's probably thinking about it, and of course they have Springtrap there and this horror attraction. But Springtrap is now possessed, and he has to suffer the same fate of roam in the halls as this animatronic. His punishment for that is this, for the murder of the children, is to you know, live as this animatronic for eternity. Or it would have been if the fire wasn't started. I believe that Springtrap attacks you in the very game just because it's his nature. It's the purple guy's nature to be a murderer, and he also feels that he was got the short end of the stick, so he decides that if I'm going to go down, I'm going to take somebody with me. So this is why he did that. But again, he doesn't succeed, and the haunted attraction probably should have left him where he was, but you know. And then the fire breaks out. All is said and done. Maybe. I believe that at the end of 3, that everybody has gotten what they deserved. The children are free from their murder, and he burns. If you understand what I mean. Everybody has come to full circle and have gotten the peace they deserve or the punishment they deserve. And so that's how I figure everything comes together. I want to know what everyone thinks. Do you agree? Is there something you would like to add? Let's discuss it below. Tell me the stuff. I'll respond, and we can have a nice big discussion in the comment section below. Until then, I will see you lovelies next time. Bye bye.